At home. We are so close to the new year that we should take this time to be nostalgic and look back at all that has happened. First of all, in world news, we'll go to our news reporter, Scott.
Thanks, Callie. I've been covering some stories that have had a big effect in the past few years. In the Persian Gulf, we were engaged in a massive airstrike that lasted 42 days. With Britain on our side and Iraq on the other, it only ended due to a ceasefire on February 28th. From then on, there was a no-fly zone put in place over Iraq. Where it happened to prevent more attacks. However, it seems that Iraq had disregarded that towards us. That's all for me. Let's bounce back to Callie.
Recap in headline news this past decade. The Korean War Memorial was completed May 22, 1990, and it consists of 19 stainless steel statues of men in war. That memorial honors the 5.8 million people who died fighting for our country. Now we're going to throw it over to our reporter, who's all that in a bag of chips, or so she claims.
It is go time over here. While everyone catches you up on some of the bunk news, I'm going to be catching you up on some of the wicked stuff. Now, movies and TV shows were a hot topic for this decade. I mean, some of the best being Forrest Gump in 1994, The Silence of the Lambs in 1991, and, of course, Titanic in 1997. Oh, and who could forget some of the Disney movies we got? I mean, Beauty and the Beast in 1991, and Toy Story, horror film for adults, and Dream Come True for children. I mean, your toys come to life when you're not looking. Think that over. Anyway, we've got some TV shows that I'm sure I wasn't the only one hooked on. I mean, you've got the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air that was short-lived from 1990 to 1996, Full House starting in 1987 and ending in 1995, and, of course, who could forget Friends from 1994, still continuing to this day before the new year? I mean, each time that came on, who couldn't help but sing along to the opening song? I mean, so no one told you life was gonna be this way. Back to you, Callie.
Sometimes I think she seriously needs to chill out. Anyway, let's take this chance to go over to our feature reporter, who also needs to chill out. Sergio?
Dude, I've got a story that'll blow your socks off for sure. The newly revised 27th Amendment prevents our congressmen from giving themselves pay raises during current session, and instead, any approved raises must wait until the next session. This, to dumb it down, stops the congressmen from being unfair with their money. Thank God this amendment got revised. I'll be back soon, so don't worry.
Yes, you will, and I'll be reporting soon too. But first, let's go back to Scott for his next important report.
Side of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building located in Oklahoma City, a devastating event has occurred. A box truck filled with explosives has blown up. This has left 168 people dead and hundreds of more injured. This is due to a terrorist attack done by Timothy McVeigh. This has got to be the worst terrorist attack we've seen on American soil so far.
And we are back to me. This decade, we were introduced to the World Wide Web. And, of course, that horrible dial-up sound that goes with it. Yuck. URL showed up in 1992 with only 26 26 websites to go with them. 26. That's a lot. I know. And in 1994, we saw Amazon come into the game and offer us new wicked ways to shop. 1998 was also very important to the spread of the web because Google hopped in quickly and took over as the #1 search engine. And by that point, we had, get this, 750,000 commercial websites. That went from 26 to 750,000 real quick. We're only growing, and you know who we have to thank for that? Tim Berners-Lee. He's the one that gave us the World Wide Web alone. That's not even counting whoever gave us the computer. See, you learn something new every day, so don't dip out.
Such as this next report, the impeachment scandal of the 1990s. This was such a big conflict, with opinions on both sides, since Bill Clinton was only the second president to ever be impeached. On December 19th, 1998, President Clinton was finally and officially impeached. This scandal was definitely one that can be said to have rocked the 1990s.
Coming back to me, I'd like to tell you about a special animal, Dolly the sheep. Dolly the sheep was the first animal to be successfully cloned by scientists, announced to us all on February 22nd, 1997. After capturing all our hearts, Dolly bred and had 6 lambs. I don't remember their names. Her life seems to be going successfully, even as a decade comes to an end. Let's finally dip over to Madeline for her last report.
What is up? We are back again, and I'm here to tell you about probably one of the most talked about things in the 90s. Ready? Music. Our music right now is for so many different groups of people, it's almost unreal. With grunge, pop, rap, and even some artists that can't be put into categories. They'll still be unforgettable though, I can just tell. With the Backstreet Boys dropping their first album in 1996, and of course, NSYNC dropping theirs the year before. Or maybe your taste is a little more towards Britney Spears and her first song, Baby One More Time. Or even maybe the Spice Girls, cause I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. Justin Timberlake from NSYNC. What girl doesn't? Anyway, all sorts of music blasted through boom boxes, cassette players in cars, or cassette players you walked around with, aka Walkmans, but I know we all have at some point. If there's one word to describe the 90s, let it be music. Whether it be boy bands like the Backstreet Boys or NSYNC, or, well, Spice Girls or Britney Spears. Maybe you like Tupac or Will Smith. It doesn't matter because music is one thing that can definitely define the 90s. Even as we go into the new year, I know it will. That's all for me.
Lastly, how could anyone forget about the Hubble Space Telescope and the Space Shuttle Atlantis? Hubble was created in the 1950s by a scientist named Edward Hubble. Get it? Hubble, first name, last name. I think we can all see why this telescope got its name. NASA launched it in April 1990 with everyone watching on their televisions. Now Atlantis was launched October 1991, and it cost over $196 billion to create and launch. Can you imagine how much the fuel costs? You think gas is cheap? In the passing decade, space was still a new frontier for us as we try to keep our reach in the sky. Back to you, Callie.
Thanks everyone for catching us up on what some of the squares at home might have missed this past decade.